Hello everyone and welcome back to Toronto by Nicola. So one of the best things about Toronto, in my opinion, is the history of the city. I always find it really interesting to go to a new place and learn about the history, and that is no different in the city I live in. Toronto has a lot of really cool old buildings that have been around for over 100 years, and a lot of them still are functioning today as places that you can go and do things in, and I really like them, and I think that there's something that makes the city really interesting and really unique and keep me loving it. So I wanted to share some of those with you. While we can't go anywhere, I thought I would discuss some of them with you and share a little bit of the history and ways that you can support them and keep them functioning as they're supposed to be right now, while we're not able to actually go to them or do anything there. So the first one I want to start with, you guys have almost definitely heard me mention this before because I feel like I talk about it all the time. I talked about it in my last video. The Review Cinema, I think it's my favorite place in the city. It's one of them for sure. It's the oldest running movie theater in all of Toronto. It opened in 1912, and it's got one screen with the chairs and the old snacks like Junior Mints and Milk Duds and the good stuff. It's got the old marquee, and it warms my heart anyway, but I'm a huge lover of film and things that are old. So when movie theaters are open, something that they have usually are themed nights. So while you can just go and like watch a regular movie, absolutely, like they have movies showing all the time, they also have these theme nights, and so they have food and film series, and so every movie that you watch is paired with the food. So one time I went and we had burgers from Burger Drops, and we watched Good Burger because those go together quite well. And they also have a series called Designing the Movies, and so Designing the Movies focuses on the fashion in the movie, which is my favorite thing in the world, is fashion in movies, and also the set design. And usually they have a speaker come in beforehand and in a discussion about the movie before you watch it, so you know like what to look out for. They also have Drunk Cinema. Drunk Cinema is so much fun. You go, you get a drinking card. When I went, you get a glow stick, but I don't know if you get a glow stick every time. You get a drinking game card, and obviously you buy a drink there, and then you and the rest of the movie theater just drink the whole movie and get drunk, and people get rowdy, and it's so much fun. They do it to horror movies a lot, but they also have other movies, which are the ones that I choose to go to because I can't do horror movies. But yeah, so they have even more than that, but those are some of them. And it's just a really, really cool, fun place to be. Everyone there is super friendly. So right now, obviously they can't function as a normal movie theater, but they are still doing their concession stand. So if you want that good movie theater popcorn or some snacks or a beer or anything, it's a great place to go and get that. They're also selling merch like mugs and bags. One other thing they're doing is a virtual cinema, so you can buy tickets to watch the movies virtually. Right now they've got some really great ones. They've got Shiva Baby, which I've heard a lot about and I really want to see. I believe Molly Gordon's in it, and it looks like a really awesome movie. So highly recommend you check out the review, follow them on Instagram, and you'll be able to see what movies they have playing. But yeah, that's the first one. That's one of my faves. The second place I want to talk about is the Danforth Music Hall. If you live in Toronto or near Toronto, you have most likely been to a concert at the Danforth Music Hall. It's a great venue. They opened in 1919, so over 100 years ago. But originally they were a movie theater, so they opened as an Allen's Danforth Theater, I believe it was called, and they stayed that way for quite a long time. In the 1970s, they started to have live musical acts, and because of these acts, they got their title of a music hall. However, they weren't actually formally named the Danforth Music Hall until 2011, which I learned recently and I found interesting. In my head, it had been the Danforth Music Hall forever, but they were actually named in 2011, and prior to that, they had a different name entirely. But they've been a music venue since the 1970s. So right now what they're doing is they have a lot of virtual concerts, and so you can go on their website and buy tickets to those. I know it's not the same as going to an in-person concert, but it's still really awesome to watch live music and know that other people are watching it at the same time as you, and you're still supporting this local business and these artists. So highly recommend you check on their website and see what they've got going on. I know they have Walk Off the Earth this month, as well as some other bands. The next place I want to talk about was also mentioned in my last video, the St. Lawrence Market. If you need to get groceries, I recommend you head to the market. It's still open during COVID because they do sell food. So head on over next time you need groceries. It's my favorite place to go. Like if I'm ever entertaining, back when you could entertain people, I loved to go to the St. Lawrence Market to get all my stuff for like a dinner party or a charcuterie board or whatever else, because just walking in there makes me want to host a party. Maybe that's just me. Another thing I feel like when I walk in there is you can like feel the history. It opened in the early 1800s. There's two buildings. There's the north and the south building, but the south building is where you have like the internal vendors. So there's over 120 vendors. You can get seafood, meat, baked goods, cheeses, like everything, produce, everything. And yeah, so it's a really old building. Again, like I said, early 1900s. I know that at one point it was lost in a fire and they had to rebuild, and it's had a couple different purposes over the years, but mainly it's been used as this marketplace for the vast majority of the time. And yeah, I highly recommend, if you have not been to the St. Lawrence Market, you go. And if you have been to the St. Lawrence Market, you go again and you grab a pea meal bacon sandwich from Carousel on your way out, because they're just so fantastic. The last place I want to talk about is Casa Loma. So Casa Loma was built in 1914 by Sir Henry Pallet. I don't know if I'm pronouncing his last name right. It is literally a giant castle in the middle of Toronto, which I think is cool in itself. I mean, how many castles do you see in Toronto? Like, it's not common. Even castles in North America aren't common. It's kind of like a little piece of Europe in Toronto, which is awesome. It's ginormous and it's huge and it's absolutely beautiful. And when it's not COVID, you can go and book a tour and actually do a tour of the grounds. And they also have events, like they do a whole haunted house, haunted grounds thing for Halloween, which is super fun and super cool, and they go all out. And they also do an annual afternoon tea in their conservatory, which is absolutely lovely. And then after that, you get to like walk around and see the castle and whatnot. The whole building is really steeped in history. It was really made by Sir Henry Pallet as his house, as his place to live. And he lost his fortune at some point in the 1800s as well and had to move out. And so there was this big castle there and they debated what to do with it. And there was a hotel for a little bit in the 1800s, and then it was vacant for a while in the early 1900s. But now it's mainly seen as this like tourist attraction and events hall, but still a really cool place with a lot of history. It's got underground tunnels and secret passageways, and it's a castle. It's fantastic. And right now, one way to support them is they have this event going on virtually called Imagine Dragons. It's not the band, it's something else, and it's a fairy tale. I don't know how to describe this. Hold on. Okay, so they've changed the castle into like a fairy tale castle with dragons and whatnot. So right now it's a virtual experience, but when they open, ideally it's going to also be an in-person experience, and it sounds super fantastic and super interesting, so we'll definitely be checking that out when we can. But yeah, Casa Loma, if you are interested in the history about it, I highly suggest you head to their website and read about it. Also, Google has a lot of really cool information, because why wouldn't they on an 1800s castle in the middle of Toronto? Did I say it was built in 1914? Sorry, to correct myself back there, I think I said it was used as a hotel at one point in the 1800s. I don't know why I said that. I meant to say 1900s. It was used at some point in the early 1900s as a hotel. It wasn't built in the 1800s. And then later it was vacant in the Depression era. That's better. That's what I meant to say. So those are four. I mean, there are so many, but those are four of my favorite old historic places in Toronto. If you haven't been to any of them, I suggest you go once things are open, and you can go again. And of course, I will be sharing events and whatnot that are happening at these places once there are things happening at these places again. But in the meantime, please support where and when you can. Some other places I wanted to mention are the theaters in the city. I'm a huge theater nerd. So the Royal Alexandra Theater and the Elgin and Winter Garden Theater are also super old, super beautiful buildings in the city that hold a lot of history and a lot of character. I just didn't include them in this video because there's not a ton right now you can do to support live theater, unfortunately. I wish so much that there was. But highly recommend you go see a play or a musical in one of those theaters. Any of them, particularly the Winter Garden Theater, is one of the most beautiful venues I've ever seen in my entire life. It's absolutely stunning. So highly recommend those two. If you have a favorite historical place in the city that you still go and visit and do things in, drop it in the comments below. I'd love to hear. I mean, I myself am always looking for new places to explore, which is why I share with you new places to explore. So let me know. Anyway, that's all for me today. So have a wonderful day. If you don't already, I would love it if you follow it on Instagram. I do a lot of storied content, a lot of daily content and reels and whatnot, if you just want like a quick look at different places. So I would love a follow, and if you like this video or any of these videos, please like and subscribe down below. With that said, as I mentioned before, have a wonderful day, and I will see you here next Wednesday.